Today we're going to be looking at trace tables. A trace table is a tool used so you can keep track of what a variable is doing as a program is running. It's quite often used if you're having any problems with your program and you want to figure out exactly the moment where it's not acting the way you want it to. So we're going to look at an example about what it might look like on your exam. Here we've got some pseudocode and we're going to write the trace table out for what this pseudocode actually does. So if we just talk about the pseudocode first, we've got two variables at the beginning. We've got counter and we've got total. So we've got a while loop here, which means it's going to repeat a section of our code. And in this case, while the counter is less than or equal to 5, it's going to repeat. And then as part of what happens as part of my loop, total is going to increase each time and it will output the total, which means it's going to show the user what currently the total is. And then we're going to add 1 onto the counter each time it loops. So with that in mind, this is our trace table that we're going to fill in. It's just going to store all of the values of the variables along the way and what the output will be. So to begin with, your counter is at 1. We're going to add 1 onto the total because that's what the counter currently is at. It's at 1 and the total is at 0. So in the total box, we'll put 1 and then the output is just going to be whatever the total is, which is going to be 1. Now notice on this column on the left hand side it's called iteration, which means that's our first iteration of our program. Now we're going to do it again, but we'll see some different results. So the counter increased by 1, which means it's now currently at 2. But because we're doing total plus counter, we're going to do 1, which is what it's currently at, plus 2. So the total is now at 3, which means my output is also going to be 3. We're going to add 1 onto the counter and then start again. So for our third iteration, our counter is currently at 3. We add our counter to the total, which means our total is now at 6, which means the output is currently at 6. We add 1 onto the counter, and then we're on our fourth iteration. The counter is currently at 4. The total of 6 added to the 4 gives us 10, so our current total is at 10, which means my output is 10. We add 1 onto the counter, and then we're on our last iteration. So our counter is at 5. Our total was currently at 10, so it's 10 plus 5, which gives us 15, which means that the output to the user is 15. So this is what a completed trace table looks like. It would allow the user to see exactly what is happening with all of the variables and outputs throughout the whole program. If this wasn't what the user was expecting, at least they now know what's going wrong and how they can fix it. So we've got an exam question to practice. It's going to be quite similar to the previous one, but maybe slightly easier because we've only got one variable and one output that we are recording in the trace table. To begin with, we've got a variable called number and it is storing the integer 10. While the number is greater than 0, we're going to output whatever the number currently is. And each time it iterates, we're going to take 3 off our number. So complete the trace table to show the values of the number and output at each step of the loop. Okay, let's go through the answers then. So to begin with, we had number was at 10, which means the output was at 10. Then we're going to subtract 3 from the number, which means that the number is now at 7. So we output 7 because the number is currently at 7. We take another 3 off, meaning that the output will be 4 because the number was at 4. We take 3 off, and then we're going to put the output of 1 and the number at 1. That's when our while loop would finish because while it's greater than 0, it was going to loop itself. But once we remove 3, it will be lower than 0, which means that's the end of the loop. And that's it for this one. I'll see you next time.